Cody says, or maybe no one alone should be a trillionaire. I agree with that. Yeah, we're so out of hand. Like it's absurd where we're at right now, like
What
economically.
about Jesus? Don't they believe that he could manage $1 trillion?
I mean, no one can manage $1 trillion. Like it's completely unreasonable. Like, like
Well,
these billionaires are not managing their money. You really think they're managing their money? Like, give me a break.
So we have examples of history and leaders like, so if I look at Mansa Musa and they look at where his wealth was compared, and then I'm like, well, what was he able to do with exorbitant amount of wealth, and he managed a better economy or system? So when they say that we can't do it, I'm saying your system showed that you could not do it, but other systems were able to do it. So my framework isn't based on the limited Eurocentric version of what someone with a lot of wealth could do. Maybe Elon Musk, but he doesn't represent what I would represent or what the African person, what their systems were. So I guess
I mean, the potential's there, whether someone's of African descent or not. I think for someone to have a lot of money to do something different, I don't think it's really based on your lineage. Like, I don't think there's a line there.
The systems that we're talking about, if we're looking at the example of those with history where they're corrupted by power, I'm like, which examples are we looking at?
I mean, we could. Corruption by power happens at every level of power too. Like, I mean, like we don't have to look at extreme, like giant figures in order to see power corrupting people. We could just look around us. Like, I mean, I just feel like. I think that I get your point. I get the argument that you're trying to make. I just think that, again. Mm-hmm. I think that you say you want to work outside a racial dynamic, but then sometimes your arguments are within that dynamic. Like,
work within and outside the system. It's like a database standpoint. It's like, here's the historical context of what we're dealing with. To find out what the issue is, you first have to acknowledge it, determine the issue, then you address or provide solutions. That's how every business approaches.
Yeah, 100%. That's problem solving 101 for sure.
So I'm just looking at it from a systemic business problematic approach. We lose a lot of money. There are many ideas that's being created based off of data. Data is priceless and it's invaluable, but how is data being valued? And who gets control of the access to that information and how it's used? So if we look at stock markets, and the reason why I was focusing on the lineage, the DNA history, and the reparations, I'm like, stock markets make full evaluations, future trading, equities, bonds, all of these things based on associated values based on data. And I'm like, yeah, but who is it that this information is being filtered through? And if they devalue us and we're over how much billion of the population, that means if we're devalued, we're not getting our full worth. So a real system's value, we could use that more efficiently or more accurately, valuating us versus the way other countries or people do.
You know, it's so interesting you say that, because in our book club, we read this book up here. Let's see. The Myth of Black Buying Power, I think. The Myth and Propaganda of Black Buying Power. And in that book, he was explaining, the author was explaining that that in fact, oftentimes those people who are filtering the filters are actually overestimating Black economic power in order to create an environment whereby they can extract a maximum amount of money from Black people. Like, so there's like a whole second level of insidiousness that like is that you're not dealing with, that like is what I'm hearing, because they are saying, oh, okay, like Black people have this amount of buying power, so therefore it's encouraging advertisers to then target them and block Black people out of the advertising market and economic circuit as well. And then that ends up just fueling the economic disparities. That's like a very base level explanation of what he's talking about. But
you saying that they value us higher in certain elements.
In terms
and
of
then,
wealth, in terms of the amount of money and buying power that we have, that's why he says the myth and propaganda of black buying power, because it was never truly about actual liberation. These movements that have come and gone through the decades of black buying power, you know, buy black, bang black, you know, all these things, like it's literally in and of itself a tool to subjugate black people, and black people have no idea about that. And even people who are, some of the people who are working towards getting some of those advertising revenue dollars, people who work in actual media positions of power, who actually have influence and can do that. Like, even though the author kind of maligns those people as well, I think that it's worthwhile for them to try to use the system to get a piece of the pie, as long as what they do with that is to further the interests of the community. That's my personal opinion about that. But you could also say that, like, given these kinds of like world dominion type schemes that are involved in white supremacy, that you know, that we need to just disconnect from all of it and rebuild and remanage all of it.
Thanks for watching. For access to the full-length conversation and all of the 2-hour-long unedited conversations that I've had on race, click the support link in the description below. Thanks for your support, and see you next time.